Hey guys, Cameron for Westworld, Season 1, Episode 8, Trace Decay, and I was obviously definitely looking forward to this episode. Out of any episode of the season, this is the one that I was most looking forward to. I loved everything about last week's episode, as you guys know. I thought that we got that incredible reveal last week and things like that I really didn't know where we were going to go from here, I have to say. I haven't known we were going to go all season, and this was another really great episode. Not as good as the last two, in my opinion, but still a great episode. I loved everything going on. There was still some amazing scenes here. Definitely some great revelations, and as the show starts to go on, we're starting to figure out the deeper meaning of it all, and I'm going to talk about that at the end, but let's just get into this episode because I definitely do want to talk about it overall. And by far, one of my favorite parts of this episode was actually the beginning, the way that we're introduced to what we saw in the last episode. I really love the way this was done. We see the episode opens with Ford. He's bringing Bernard back online. That's never happened before. We've never seen Ford say, bring yourself back online. It's always been Bernard or Stubbs or one of them. But now that Ford has revealed who, his creation really is, now he's going to, use his creation as his creation. And he immediately starts freaking out after killing Teresa. And I love the fact that Bernard, again, has emotions. This isn't something where, Ford can get rid of them. And Ford explains Bernard's origins. Ford built Bernard, we found, to help make the host capture more of human emotions. And I like that we got a lot of this exposition out of the way. There were a lot of questions we had, and any questions that we had were kind of answered here. Well, regarding Bernard, that is. And Ford also explains why he killed Teresa. So basically, that's why he wanted it, because, we know the hosts aren't really supposed to have those emotions, and, to him at least, they aren't really supposed to. They're supposed to kind of, have them and then forget them. Bernard is someone that he did so he could try it, and Ford also explains why he killed Teresa. Basically, Davos threatened to ruin everything, and when Bernard vows to stop Ford and threatens him, Ford orders him to stand down, because Bernard literally says that he wants to destroy everything. He wants nothing to do with Ford at this point. This is what Ford wants him to do. Bernard is not interested. But unfortunately, he really doesn't have that much power against Ford. He's kind of outnumbered. Ford orders him to stand down, clean up his mess by erasing his involvement with Teresa's disappearance. And it's very sad to see, but essentially, Bernard has no choice but to comply. We see Ford promises to erase all of the memories of Teresa from his system, and it's really sad to see. I really did feel bad for Bernard in this scenario. This is someone that he genuinely did care about, and he even said to him, look, I love Teresa. Why'd you do this to me? But in general, he really doesn't have much power against him, so to just see him essentially be a slave to Ford was really hard to watch, I have to say. But I think, again, really to show how much Ford has had his hand in every single pile, and that's something we're really starting to get down to, is how much control does Ford really have? I think it's something that's going to be answered over these next 3 episodes, and especially this episode. I think that was answered very well, mostly with Bernard. We know how much control he has over him, but the question is how much control he's had over everything else. So Maeve then watches Clementine 2.0, who now is like a blonde wig, and she's saying the same kind of shit that she always spews. You don't have much of a rind on you. She's seducing one of her customers before remembering her past life on the frontier with her daughter. And again, this is very hard for Maeve to watch because of the fact that, this is not the Clementine that she knew. Clementine almost went rogue. Clementine, had genuine emotions, and it's kind of hard for her to watch this. She watched her best friend get lobotomized, and she heads back to the body shop to ask what's going on with her memories. So Felix and Sylvester explain how, as a host, she is a perfect memory, which this I found, again, very interesting. Felix offers to find out what happened to her daughter, but Maeve just resolves to leave. She knows, and she said that she knows everything. She remembers every single thing that happened, so there really is no reason for them to tell her, and she explains her plan. Now, this, I was wondering, because again, we were trying to figure out how she was going to leave, but she actually has a very well-elaborated plan. Now, I don't really know how Maeve figured this out, but I'm guessing through all the data that she's gotten and all the information that she's retained over the past few episodes, she's found out that every single host has a charge implanted in their spine to prevent them from leaving. And if they try to leave, then they completely explode. And she wants to do what she can to remove said charge, so that way she'll be okay with leaving. And then we'll escape with the help of allies, but she'll need administrative access first, which again, Felix and Sylvester don't want to do, but you don't really mess with Maeve, as we know. So I really am liking where this is going. Again, Tandy Newton, absolute badass, loving where this is headed. But William and Dolores are then riding into the valley. They find a number of Confederados killed by the Ghost Nation. Again, we didn't know where they were going to go, but one of them is still alive, so William interrogates him, and he finds out that Logan had actually sent the Confederado after the train. And William wants to keep moving, but Dolores says that they can't really abandon someone who's still alive. That wouldn't really make sense. So when Dolores tries to get water, she sees her own body floating in the river, and Dolores is really starting, I think, to wake up and see what's going on here. This entire season, I think she's been figuring out there's something larger at play, but this really is the episode where she's starting to realize, someone is fucking with me. Something's going on, and it's not really in my control. And she hears Arnold's voice telling her to come and find him, and definitely, we're starting to see what's going on there. But Stubbs then brings Teresa's body into the headquarters. He explains that she was found near where the woodcutter was killed. And Stubbs speculates to Ford and Charlotte that Teresa was trying to smuggle data out of the park, as 2 transmitters were found nearby, but slipped and fell into the Ravine. And Charlotte says that Teresa's death was unlikely, as she was very careful. She doesn't think there was any way she could have been killed. But Ford explains that Teresa also faked Clementine's outburst last week. And Ford, I will admit, he did a pretty good job of covering this up. Ford then suggests that they restrict QA's access to the core code and reinstate Bernard as head of programming until some more principal can be found to replace Teresa. So now we're starting to realize that this was kind of his plan overall. Like, all Ford wanted to do was, in fact, get Bernard to replace Teresa, because he never felt that Teresa really, deserved to be in that court, in that position. He always felt that Bernard should be the one to do that, and you definitely are starting to see why Ford did what he did here. So it says that something happened upstairs and they need to finish up before someone notices. So Sylvester tells Maeve that she's probably figured out that she can't escape by now, and Maeve says that her examination of her code has revealed that there seems to be 2 minds fighting with each other, and that part of her code are laying dormant, or laying dormant, and that makes perfect sense. As we know, there's the side that Ford has where they're supposed to be repetitive and, speak the dialogue that is written for them, and anything that they say is transmitted through that screen. And then there's the other side of Maeve that is a lot more aware, a lot more knowing of what's going on, and is human. Those are 2 very different sides, and again, it's making me think that these hosts were once real people. I have this feeling. If he made Bernard, and Bernard is, so full of emotion, why does he want the other host to not be? I mean, I get why, obviously, but I feel like these are, in fact, real people at some point. And she asks who Arnold is. This is the first time she's ever heard of him. But Sylvester says that she need to go to behavior to make the changes, and Maeve immediately comes up with a plan to get her into behavior. And when Felix and Sylvester go outside to convene, Sylvester says they should go along with their plan, because, again, they're kind of scared of her, as we see, but also because they don't really know what to do until they find an opportunity to help her programming. But Felix seems very hesitant. He doesn't really know if he's willing to do something like that, mainly because I think, one, he obviously doesn't want to, he really doesn't want to do that, but 2, I don't think he wants to promise Maeve something that he knows is not going to happen. He seems to genuinely care for her, and you definitely see that here. But Teddy and the Men in Black, we finally get to see them back in this episode, and they head into Wyatt's territory, and the Man in Black definitely, we're starting to find out a lot more what's going on with him. Now, that theory of William being the Man in Black, I think, is definitely a justified theory, but after this episode, I don't really see how that could be a possible theory. He mentioned that the game is rigged and that Teddy is only there to be a loser, which triggers Teddy's memory of one of the previous times that the Man in Black killed Teddy, and they find a bunch of dead bodies, but find a sole survivor, the host William met when he arrived at the park, we find out. So this is again why people are thinking that the Man in Black is William, and suddenly a dude dressed as a Minotaur shows up, he attacks the group, and during the fight, Teddy remembers the Man in Black attacking him and Dolores, and after killing the Minotaur man, Teddy turns on the Man in Black, knocks him out, and the fact he's going after the Man in Black now, I found to be very interesting. I mean, he clearly is not trusting him, and Teddy is starting to remember memories of the Man in Black, which we haven't really seen before. But Felix and Sylvester then wheel Maeve into behavior. Felix then shuts Maeve down, but hesitates when it comes to wiping her system. He doesn't want to do that overall, because again, he knows that it's not going to do anything. She'll still wake up regardless, and she'll remember what's going on. So Lee is trying to write a script for a cannibal host when Charlotte walks into her office, and as we know, Lee clearly did take a liking to Charlotte, and Charlotte explains that Teresa wasn't a traitor and contributes into helping her with his new plan, because remember, Charlotte's plan, was to fire Ford, and she's still going to be on that. She's just going to get Lee to be the one to help her with that, and I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, Lee is someone who has every reason to be mad at Ford, and has so many things that he can say to get Ford fired. I mean, And remember the amount of time and effort that Lee worked on all of that worked. It would make perfect sense, worked on all of that, all the storylines and everything. It would make perfect sense as to why Lee would be the person to replace Ford. In fact, I think it's a better option than Teresa. He has a lot more beef against Ford, and I think her recruiting Ford is going to work a lot better for her than her recruiting Teresa. So Sylvester tries to convince Felix to shut her down. Maeve suddenly sits up. Turns out that Maeve asked Felix to tinker with his core code, turned off her restrictions on killing humans, and she literally picks up a scalpel and slits Sylvester's throat. Now, I don't think she did this to kill Sylvester, but she clearly did this to show she means business and that she is in fact going to kill if she needs to, and promises she'll do worse to the guests when she gets back to the park. And after Felix hurriedly used a medical tool to patch Sylvester up, Maeve says it's time to recruit her army. So she is not playing around here. She definitely means business, and they need to help her. So when Maeve returns to the park, she walks into her bordello waiting for Hector to arrive, and when the bartender tries to make Maeve pay her tab, Maeve used her powers of influence to get a drink instead, and Maeve, I love how casual she was about this again. So Maeve sees a girl and her mother walk past Maeve. She then has a flashback to the man in black murdering her, which we've seen before. This is nothing new, but she then orders the girls and the bartender to get out of harm's way right as Hector and his gang arrive. Maeve protects Hector by forcing the sheriff to either shoot each other or leave them alone, which gets them an out by stealing the safe and leaving town. Remember, Hector's really been her link to all this. He's been the one that's gotten her to everything, it's all the dirt that's going on with her, so that's why I think she's really helping Hector here, because he's done her a service, she's going to do him a service. So Ford then thanks Bernard for helping cover up Teresa's death. Ford asks if the things he experienced was real, but Bernard explains that every story needs a beginning, and Ford asks Bernard what separates himself from Ford, but Ford gives this philosophical answer about how there's no such thing as real consciousness, and this is what Ford tends to do. He tends to talk in circles and not really give answers, clear-cut answers, and we know why, obviously. Again, the creator is not going to reveal how his creation was made. That's not how it works out. And Bernard asks if Ford has ever ordered him to kill before. And while Ford says no, Bernard has a memory of him choking Elsie out. So this was very fascinating. We haven't seen Elsie since she was kidnapped. And I'm willing to believe that Bernard, in fact, killed Elsie. I think that Ford very well commanded Bernard to kill Elsie, and I think that's exactly where she was taken to, that he was the one that got her, and now she's dead. And it would make sense, too, because I don't really know where Elsie would go from here, and especially with her knowing what's going on, her about to reveal all the information, it would make perfect sense why Ford would want her killed. And Ford then erases Bernard's memories entirely, which that was crazy to see, him erasing all these memories, but I don't know if that's totally going to do anything. We'll have to see. So Dolores and William then discover a town sitting on the edge of the river, complete with a church with a very familiar-looking steeple. And while the town is, Dolores seems to have memories of full of hosts and Westworld staff. She sees Lawrence's daughter, who asks if she found what she was looking for, before she sees herself shooting people. Now, we have seen this memory throughout this entire season. The way they built it up so well to find out it was actually Dolores being the one shooting everyone is pretty genius the way it was done. I thought it was kind of cool to find out that she was the one that was shooting everyone. That was definitely something that I wasn't expecting, and William suddenly stops her from shooting herself in the head. Turns out the entire town is an illusion, and the only thing that's left is a black steeple in the middle of the desert. Now, a lot of people are starting to think that this is the whole two timelines theory, that Dolores seeing this, is in fact what's really going on, but there's something being hidden from her, and this is actually just a memory of the past. And I could definitely see that being the truth. William, at this point, she doesn't think that William's real. She doesn't think that William's real. She says that Oral must want him to remember, but William says they need to get away from the park, and the real question is this actually happening right in real time, or is Ford just trying to hide something larger at play, which I think overall is a very interesting angle to think about. So later that evening, Dolores and William come across a group of riders, one of which is Logan. Now, this was very interesting. We know that Logan abandoned William and Dolores, and I've never really loved Logan as a character, but the direction we're going with him now, where he is now one of the riders, and he's now a villain, because Logan says straight out that they're fucked, and Dolores cowers behind William, and it now seems seems like there's going to be a straight-up fight between William and Logan, something that William's always wanted to do. And again, I think William's going to be the winner of this. You know, he's always wanted to take down Logan, as we know, so I thought that was very interesting to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this is going, because I am so for a William-Logan fight. Definitely something I think that the entire show really has been leading up to. Ever since we got introduced to William, I think they've been leading up to that, and I would love to see the way that turns out. But Charlotte then takes Lee into cold storage. She pulls out Abernathy, Dolores' original father, which I'm very happy to see. I love that actor. I'm glad to see he's getting more stuff to do. And Charlotte fills Abernathy with all the core codes, says that Lee needs to give Abernathy enough of a personality to get him onto the train out of the park. So it seems like they're going to restore him. You knew this was going to happen eventually. The second that he went into cold storage, I'm like, we're going to see Abernathy again. So I like the fact that now he seems to be the one to restore him, because he was the first one, as we know, to crack. He was the first one to know that there was something going on. And now, with all of the hosts having the knowledge that something's going on, he'll be that much more effective to Dolores and all them. So we don't really know where that's going to go, but that definitely is going to be very interesting. And the way that Charlotte's going to find out what's going on, I really am loving. Because again, as we know, she doesn't really care about the host. She cares more about the park overall. And this is the perfect example of that. So Stubbs consoles Bernard about Teresa, but Bernard claims that he never had an affair with her. And Stubbs seems suspicious of Bernard, asks about Elsie, who Bernard claims is just enjoying a vacation. So Stubbs knows that something is definitely going on. He knows the connection that Bernard and Teresa had. He knows what actually happened to he knows that definitely Elsie, something's happened to her. So Stubbs definitely, I like the way that he's starting to figure out, Stubbs is definitely not stupid. He knows there's something going on. I hear this ridiculous theory that Stubbs is a host. There's no way that's actually going on. Out of all of them, I think Stubbs is the one that definitely isn't a host. I think he's the one that is totally human, who's doing things for his own reasons, and definitely am looking forward to seeing where this is going to go, because he can definitely tell that something's up. And if this season ends with him finding out what's going on with Ford, that's going to be good if that's what ends up happening. But we'll have to see. The Man in Black then wakes up tied up. Teddy starts to beat him up, and the Man in Black explains that we find out this big exposition about the Man in Black here, which I think we've been waiting for. He explains he was a good man outside the park until his wife killed herself the year before. Turns out his wife knew that the Man in Black was a monster. Next time Man in Black came into town, she found a homesteader who was Maeve and killed her and her daughter. So that's why we now know what's going on there, why he killed Maeve and everything. But Maeve came back to life and slashed the Man in Black's throat, showing that this isn't the first time she's killed. And Maeve then tried to rescue her daughter before they collapsed on the ground. And when Maeve died, the Man in Black claims that he discovered the maze, which cuts far deeper than one of Arnold's storylines. So definitely something's going on there. And a lot of people said this proves 100% that it is in fact William, but I wouldn't really say that. I'll get more into that when we get into the end of the episode, but right now I don't really think that could be William. We'll have to see though. So meanwhile, Maeve tries to leave the bordello, but accidentally kills Clementine in the process, which that was really hard to watch. Several of the hosts try to capture her, but Maeve used her abilities of persuasion to escape. We then see a flashback of when Maeve first woke up after her daughter's death in the side of programming, and Fort Bernard arrived when she loses control and wipes her memory. So we know that this was, again, she used to have a memory wipe. And as Maeve remembers, as the Bioshock employees arrive, bring Maeve back into the shop. So she's not going to get away that easily. We see she definitely is trying to leave, but she's not going to get out that easily. And I like where this is headed. I think this is definitely interesting to see. Then we get to the ending here, which this, I think, was very much a long time coming. We see Teddy, he's trying to kill the Man in Black, but his fail-safes prevent it. The woman they rescued before stabs Teddy with an arrow. She reveals that she's working for Wyatt, and she tells Teddy to rejoin the fold. Wyatt and his men come out of the shadows and surround them, and that is the way the episode ends. Really crazy stuff overall, but let's just get in this episode where I think we're headed for the rest of this season and where I think we're going to end up at the end. So there was a lot of information given in this episode. I think definitely they're doing a really good job with that. But let me just dive into the obvious. There are a lot of fan theories going on right now. Definitely the most popular one being that there are 2 timelines on the show, which I think kind of does make sense. I think it makes sense why we know that, but I don't know if that's actually what's going on. There's definitely something larger at play. I'll say that right now. There's definitely something larger at play that they're not revealing yet, and that makes sense, because if they did, the show would be over if they revealed what's actually going on. And I'm happy that they're not revealing what's actually going on, because that keeps us watching, I do kind of worry, though, that because of how accurate that Bernard fan theory was, and that is what is going on, I'm worried that some of these fan theories are debunking the show in the sense that I feel like it ruins some of the tension. And I don't think that it's bad that people are giving these fan theories, but I think some people need to stop looking for them and come up with their own things because, again, I don't want this to be a predictable thing where all of these twists end up coming true. I'm hoping that there's something more going on that no one has guessed yet. It just seems like this show, there's definitely more going on than that, and I feel like it's something that we can't really figure out. I mean, there's so many ways to interpret the show, and there's so many different types of deeper meanings that it really is hard to figure out what's fully going on. But I like that because, again, the show will be over, and that gives us a reason to keep watching. So I will definitely say I'm very happy with that. I'm just worried that some of the fan theories are kind of unwarranted, and they're kind of ruining some of the big reveals in the show that probably would have been a lot more revealing. Like Bernard being a host, definitely revealing, very well done reveal, but I think would have been a lot more shocking if no one ever came up with a theory about it, which I understand why. You know, with the internet, it's hard to kind of keep your mouth shut, but in terms of certain theories, I think some people need to kind of keep them to themselves and not really reveal it until maybe it happens. I've seen that happen many times before, but I think some people need to kind of keep their mouth shut with that. And let me just say that I'm not trying to say that we shouldn't have fan theories because I think the show completely warrants it. I think it wants you to have fan theories. The creators of the show, I think, want you to think about that, and I think that's something that we definitely do see very well here, and I really would say it's a good thing. I just think that some of them are kind of ruining some things of the show, so that definitely does concern me. But if you have fan theories, by all means, definitely say them, because definitely they do add to the mystery of the show. But either way, really great episode. There was a lot of stuff going on here. Let's first talk about the whole two-timeline theory, because there's definitely something going on there. The fact that Dolores saw this whole town where it doesn't seem like this town is real and that there's actually something more going on, you know, where she saw the host and everything. A lot of people are suspecting that Ford again is fucking with her, and that's definitely what's going on. I think definitely there's more going on with that. We don't fully know what that's all about, but there's definitely more going on with what Ford's doing to her, the control that he has over her. Definitely, I think that's a big part of it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that's really going to go. And the Man in Black's description, I will admit, that does sum up William pretty well. The fact that he was a good man outside the park, and then his wife killed herself. You know, we don't know about that yet, but he's not married, remember. William is getting married, but he's not married yet. So that's the one thing I think that kind of debunks that theory, but I don't know if that's actually true. I mean, I could be very wrong. I could be wrong, and maybe, you know, William is in fact the Man in Black. I don't really know. I just feel like it wouldn't really make a ton of sense for us to see all of this buildup with William, only to already know that he completely fails with Dolores, and that Dolores, you know, they don't end up together, and that Dolores ends up sad and everything, and now she's trying to revolt against Ford. It just doesn't really seem like this direction the show would go. The show's supposed to be a show of, you know, about getting out and trying to overcome and face these endeavors that you're trying to face, and it seems like this, you know, does not really seem like the direction to go. So if that's really what's going on, it makes sense, definitely, but it's not exactly the best thing the show could do. I think it would make sense, but I just don't really, I think it would kind of make William's character not as impactful as he seemed, definitely, because he seems like he truly loves Dolores, and if we end up with her, you know, betraying him and him turning into the Man in Black, I don't know if I'm gonna like it as much, but again, we'll have to see. I don't know. This very well could be true, but I really don't know. The connection that Ford and the Man in Black have is not the connection that William and Ford have, but again, William has just gotten there, so I don't really know. We'll have to see. Again, we don't know when the show takes place. They've done a very good job of not telling us that, so again, I don't really know. Stubbs, like I said, Stubbs is definitely starting to figure out what's going on with Bernard. Bernard is definitely, I think, had something to do with Elsie's disappearance. I don't know if he killed her or if he just subdued her. I'm pretty sure he did kill her, and Stubbs, knowing that there's something going on, you know, he knew that Bernard and Teresa had a relationship, and Bernard's not remembering. He'll start to figure out there's something going on with Ford. I'm sure that's going to be very interesting to see, and I think that's going to really play into Charlotte's retaliation against him. As we know, Charlotte will do anything she can to get Ford fired. She's destined to get him fired from his job. She's destined to get him out of there, and Ford will basically do anything he can to keep himself there. You know, he feels it's his job, and anyone that tries to get rid of him or, you know, subdue him or try to bring him down, he'll just kill. And I don't think that Charlotte and Lee are going to die. So after a certain point, he's got to stop having all the power. And I think definitely that's going to happen. If most of his staff ends up turning against him, then definitely I think it could happen. I think that's very much what's going to happen this season. I don't think that Ford's going to end up fired necessarily, but I do think that a lot of his staff are going to feel a lot more untrustworthy. Now, what she's going to do with Abernathy, that I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. I really love that actor. I'm glad to see that he's coming back in the show, because I really love what we got with him when we were first introduced him. So I'm glad to see that he is in fact going to play a big role here, because I've always really liked that actor. But definitely looking forward to seeing what Abernathy's going to do here. Always really liked him as an actor. Definitely looking forward to seeing that overall. I think that's going to be very interesting. Dolores and William encountering Logan. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait for this. Ever since William and Logan were introduced, I've always been into this storyline. I know a lot of people say, oh, Logan's a dick, but that's the point. I think we've really been building up to, William and Logan having such different ideals. Now we're going to build to the climax, where we start to see Logan, going rogue, and William being the hero. Now that William's a lot more aware of what's going on, he's a lot more determined, he's a lot more protective of Dolores, and he actually has a purpose to be there. Now he will have genuine reasons to go against Logan and, attack him and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with this. I expect a big fight to go down, but I could be wrong. Again, a lot of things I predicted in the show do not go the way I think they're going to go, so I think this definitely could be an example of that. We'll have to see. I'm hearing this really absurd theory now that Dolores could be Wyatt, and that's how this Man in Black theory ties together. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think that Wyatt maybe could have been Maeve. I think Maeve is very much involved with what's going on with the Man in Black. I mean, we've seen that he's had a pretty heavy role in most of her trauma, and most of everything we've seen with Maeve, all the shit she's gone through has been because of the Man in Black and has been at the hands of him. So I very well could see this ending with Maeve possibly being connected to the Man in Black in more of a way than we think. But again, I don't really know. I think that's going to be interesting to see if that's really where we're headed with this. Again, I don't know, but I feel like there's definitely something more going on there. And then the only other thing to really talk about is the body shop. I know that Maeve wants to get out of there, but I don't really know if she's going to. I don't know if really what she's going to do is really going to work, if she's going to get rid of this code. I like finding out that that's how they're connected, and that's maybe how they hear Arnold. But a lot of people are starting to think that Arnold could be Bernard. But my biggest question to that is, whose memories are those? Are those just is that just a storyline that Ford gave him to give him a purpose? Or was there actually a Charlie? I don't really know. I mean, I'm willing to bet that there was a Bernard that was close to Ford, and maybe he committed suicide, and that's why Ford built Bernard. But again, I don't really know. I mean, anything I'm telling you guys, I honestly don't know. This show just does such a great job of setting up so many potential elements, plot elements, and so many potential storylines that I honestly have no idea where we're going. I really don't. These last two episodes, I don't know where we're headed, and I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, a show keeping me guessing. I'd rather a show keep me guessing. I'd rather a show keep me guessing than me predicting everything, and it doesn't really seem like that's really where we're headed. The level we're at here seems to be a lot more bigger than people think. I think definitely there's going to be a huge connection going on soon. I think very soon we're going to start to figure out what's going on here. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Love to your thoughts on it. Really loving this show, as you guys know. Just every episode seems to impress me. This is very quickly becoming one of my favorite shows on TV. I'm really loving everything about this show, and I really love these two episodes. Don't let us down, definitely. And that's my review. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for tonight's episode of Supergirl, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.